One of the first things that we want to do is to set up some fundamental concepts that we will use in the course of our studies. Well, the first of these is that change and transition are not synonymous. These terms are not the same. There is a difference between change and transition. Many people talk about, well, we're going through change, and then they'll talk about, well, we're going through transition. Transition and change are not the same thing. Change involves the goal to be reached. For instance, we're going to change my weigh-in size. I'm going to be 20 pounds lighter than I am now. Had a friend ask me one time, said, how would you like to lose 40 pounds of ugly fat? And I said, I'd be delighted to do that. And he said, well, cut your head off. Well, I don't think I want to go through that level of transition to get to that required change. Change simply involves the goal to be reached. Transition concerns the journey that we undertake in reaching the desired goal. We may desire, for instance, to change our percentage of undergraduate enrollment or to increase our undergraduate enrollment. In order to meet that change, then we have to go through a transition which may require a lot of restructuring in how we do business. The journey may indeed be very arduous. Change will never be achieved without a successful transitionary period. Transition is fundamental to meeting change. And one of the things that we will try to accomplish for you in this course is to expose you to strategies to bring about effective transition in order to achieve change. Transition basically involves three stages. The first of these is letting go of the old ways and the old identity. The second is going through an in-between time when the old is gone but the new is not fully operational. The new not being fully operational kind of puts you into a situation like they were in World War I when they were conducting trench warfare. And as they were conducting the trench warfare, the Germans were on one side, the French were on the other with the British, and in the middle there was a no man's land, a neutral zone. In this, I want you to see that we have the first stage, which involves letting go of the old. The in-between land, or the neutral zone, is the time when the old is gone but the new is not fully operational, and out on the other side we have the coming out of transition and making a new beginning. So we must see very clearly three distinct stages in the transitionary process. These three distinct stages are represented in this drawing. The first of these is ending or losing and letting go of the old. In the middle we have the neutral zone, and out on the end we have the desired change, which is the new beginning and the adoption of that which we desire to accomplish. Well, let's consider the very first of these, the ending, losing, and letting go. Most of us are kind of what you might call emotional pack rats. The things that we get a hold of, we don't want to turn loose. We want to store them up and keep them. Can you think of somebody today that you're aggravated at because they did something to you and you've harbored it deep down in your heart? And what you intend to do if you ever catch them crossing the highway is run over them? You ever heard the joke about the man that had been hit outside the hospital and he was laying there in a crump? A car had just run over him, backed up and got him again and took off. And he's laying there dying, and the paramedic runs up, and they said, who hit you? He said, it was my wife. They said, did you see her hit you? He said, no, I didn't see her hit me. He said, well, how do you know it was her? He said, well, I'd recognize her laugh anywhere. So when we start out in this, the very first part of any transition towards change is to end, lose, or let go of what we are currently doing. And that is a very, very, very difficult stage in transition. Some folks never accomplish that. And as a leader, if you start out and you're looking only at the goal that you're going to reach and you don't understand the difficulty, the grieving process that occurs with ending or letting go or the uncertainty that's accomplished there, then you're going to lose very many of your good employees, for they will simply go elsewhere rather than face their grief. The next phase is what we call the neutral zone. This is kind of the stage in the middle. This is where we've turned loose of the past, but we've not yet gotten to stage 3. I envision this kind of like the no man's land in World War II. Here's the bombing ground in the middle. Let me tell you, it's scary to stand in the neutral zone. It's scary to stand somewhere where you've let go of the past and you've not been fully yet committed to the future. At this point, if employees or personnel are not carefully nurtured, they can just go back to where they came from and return to the end zone without any problem whatsoever and go back to the old way. The goal of a manager is to transition them out of this stage 1 where they turn loose of the old, get them and recognize that they're in the neutral zone and successfully, carefully transition them out of the neutral zone into the next stage. Now keep in mind that leaving the neutral zone too soon can be very problematic and very dangerous. There's no more dangerous stage in the transition process than standing in the neutral zone, because you can go either way, or you can give up and just move and seek employment somewhere else. The last stage in this is the new beginning, the embracing of a new path, accepting the change that we have set out upon. If you look at this 3-stage model, you see a lot of managers come in and say, well, we're going to bring about this change, and the change is enacted. The problem is that the folks, as far as enacting the change and embracing it, are still at stage 1. They've never let go of the old way. Some of them might be in stage 2, where they're in the neutral zone, just wandering around. They really don't know what to do, and no one whatsoever has reached stage 3, where they've embraced the change and set out on a new beginning. I laugh. I know an institution that had a slogan that said, no matter how things change, they always stay the same. I think that really is kind of comical to use that as a slogan. It makes good propaganda. Now, all of us have propaganda. The problem is if we begin to believe or practice our own propaganda. I mean, that no matter how things change, they always stay the same. Well, that's good propaganda if you're trying to convince somebody that you really hadn't changed, and you're trying to sneak some change past them while they're not looking. But to adopt a philosophy that we don't care what happens with change, we're going to stay the way we are, means that you have not turned loose of phase 1. Phase 2, the neutral zone, again, is extremely dangerous. If employees are not successfully transitioned through the neutral zone, they will never reach stage 3 adoption and the new beginning that is associated with the change. So we have 3 distinct phases, and throughout the breadth of this course, we will be looking specifically at strategies that can be enacted in each of these 3 phases of transition. I love this quote, but it says, faced with the choice between changing one's mind and proving that there is no need to do so, almost everyone gets busy on the proof. John Kenneth Galbraith. Well, Galbraith recognized the fact that making the step out of the first level, where we give up the old in order to journey towards the new, is one of the scariest points of transitioning towards change. Really, really neat discussion here, and one that you ought to pay careful heed to. We will now position yourself on through the lesson 1, looking at the next discussion areas.